Before I begin this story, I want you to take a moment and subscribe to my channel, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a confession, a night that altered everything. A night I tried to erase, yet it stayed with me. A memory I never believed I'd have the strength to speak aloud. But here I am, sharing the most forbidden, tangled, and unforgettable night of my entire life. That day, the day everything shifted, started like any other. I thought it would simply be about not spending my 64th birthday alone. But I was wrong. That day wasn't just about loneliness. It was about love, memories, and something I had buried deep in my heart for years. And it all began with Edward. Edward was Jonathan's stepson. I first met him when Jonathan, my late husband, and I married. Back then, he was just a quiet young man, full of ambition and confidence, always respectful, always gentle. But time changes people. Now he's 28, grounded, strong-willed, and quietly captivating. He carries a presence that draws others in without any effort. And me, I was simply the woman he used to call Bella, someone he once regarded with respect, and maybe something deeper. After Jonathan passed away, Edward began visiting more often. At first, it was just to help with small tasks, fixing the garage, sorting out paperwork, keeping me company. But gradually, those visits shifted into something unspoken. Feelings lingered in the air, ones I could never acknowledge. And then 2 years ago, he vanished. No phone call, no message, nothing. It was as though he had disappeared completely. Yet even in his absence, he never truly left my mind. I remembered the way he laughed, how his voice softened when he said my name, Bella. Sometimes I'd sit alone in the living room, hearing the echo of his laughter in my thoughts, and then I'd shake my head, telling myself to stop, to let it go. But some people aren't meant to be forgotten. You simply learn to live with the shadow they leave behind. And then came that day, my 64th birthday, the day I swore I wouldn't cry or feel abandoned. But life had different intentions. When I opened the door, I froze. Edward was standing there. He looked at me with that familiar smile. Older now, steadier, radiating a confidence that filled the entire doorway. He said he had come by to search for some documents in the garage. But I knew instantly that wasn't the real reason. His eyes betrayed something else. That same gaze I had tried so hard to bury was staring straight into me again. And just like that, every emotion I had pushed deep down surged back to the surface. When he stepped inside, the atmosphere seemed to shift, heavy and charged. He walked toward the garage, and a few minutes later, I found myself following him. What I discovered there made me stop abruptly. In the corner, placed on an old table, was a gramophone, the very one I had always wanted, even back when Jonathan was still alive. And beside it lay a record, my favorite one, a song I hadn't heard in years. It couldn't have been an accident. Edward knew. He remembered. I stood silently as the record began to turn, filling the room with that haunting melody from my youth. And in that moment, it became clear. The documents were just a pretext. He hadn't come searching for papers. He had come for me. Later that afternoon, he left. No explanation, no goodbye, just a gentle smile and a look that lingered long after the door closed. But that evening, when I finally thought the day had ended, there was another knock. And when I opened the door once more, he stood there again, this time holding a small cake. Edward smiled softly and said, "I didn't want you to spend your 64th birthday alone, Bella." My heart skipped. For a moment, I couldn't even breathe. He remembered. It wasn't just about the cake or even the birthday itself. It was the intention, the care, the emotion behind it. He stepped closer, his voice soft but carrying something much deeper. "Tonight should be special." I wanted to respond, anything at all, but the words tangled in my throat. He placed the cake on the table and glanced around the room as though it belonged to the two of us. Then he turned toward me and said, "Go put on something nice. Let's celebrate this properly. You deserve it."